broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Yes, indeed, it is UBC Radios, and we are here to inspire the people of Uganda. Welcome to UBC Ground Zero again. And in this very important edition, we welcome your dear listener from all walks of life, wherever you're listening this program from. We can't take that for granted. And I am very much excited that today we have a very special team of guests that are going to be inspiring, educating, and informing us today. In today's edition, we are on 5 radio stations covering this program and also streaming live on YouTube. Just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. And we are on UBC Radio 98.0 FM in Kampala. We are on 97.4 FM in Arua. We are on 99.4 FM in Lida. That is on UBC Radio and other parts of the country. And we're also live and clear on another radio station, that is UBC Butebo. In case you are in Mbale, we are 96.9 FM. In case you are in Soroti, we are 98.4 FM. And we are also live and clear on another important radio station, that is UBC Western Nile. Our people from Western Nile, Acholi, Lango, Karamoja, Teso sub-regions, we are live on 98.0 FM on Western Nile Radio. And we are also live and clear on UBC Magic 100 FM. That is on 100 FM. That covers all central parts of this country. And we are also live and clear on Voice of Butebo. The repeat of this program is always on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. Always endeavor to create time and listen to this repeat. And that is on Sunday on UBC Radio 98.0 FM and also on Voice of Butebo on Monday, same time. Ampaire Amon Buteega is my name, and I do have a big privilege and honor to have a very special team of guests in the studios of UBC, and who are going to be indeed educating us today. And you know that we are in the month of August. We are only counting very few days to the D-Day. I'm talking about the Day for the Youth, where they always commemorate and celebrate their day on 12th August. And 2025, we look at a very important global or international theme, looking at the local youth actions for SDGs and beyond. And would love to go into the details of this and be able to understand and break it down on how this favors or promotes or develops the majority Ugandans. Remember, the youth contribute to the biggest population, the biggest percentage of our population, and Uganda is one of the countries that has been known for having a young population. And today we shine spotlight on the creativity, the leadership, the resilience of young people who are not just waiting for the future, but who are shaping it right now. And from fighting climate change to driving innovation, promoting social justice, I do have lawyers, I have people from civil society, I have people from government, I have people from the other side that I don't want to call it opposition, but the alternative government, who are supposed to be advising government on the directions that we can move together as the people of Uganda. So we are looking at the youth we are taking bold actions at the grassroots levels, especially when we talk about village programs, and also we look at how we can transform communities and also push a bit closer to achieving the sustainable development goals. Those are the SDGs, in case you never knew what is SDG about. Or even taking beyond, looking at beyond of 2025, 2030. In Uganda, we have here Vision 2040. So would love to know how these visions look into the youth programs and developing at the youth of this country, who are the hope of the nation, but also hope of the future Uganda, future East Africa, future Africa, and also the world at large. My guests in the studios of UBC that are already here in the studios, I do have the privilege and honor to have Kiria Ismail. This one is the President Emeritus from Uganda Young Democrats. You know, this is a very popular wing when it comes to Democratic Party politics or party or political party here in Uganda. I want to welcome you, Ismail.
Thank you, Amon. I'm so much grateful actually to be on radio. Once again, this is my second time when I'm here. To our listeners, Kiria Ismail is my name once again. I'm the President, Uganda Young Democrats Emeritus, and I'm also the former Publicity Secretary of the Democratic Party for some 2-3 years in an acting capacity. I'm also the Secretary Democratic Party Jinja City, and I'm also the aspiring Member of Parliament Jinja South East constituency in Jinja. Jinja, yes, Jinja City.
Jinja City South.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Southeast, yes.
Southeast or
Jinja Southeast constituency.
Southeast constituency.
Yes, Jinja City is one of the few cities which have 3 constituencies. Which is totally different from other cities. Other cities have 2 divisions and their constituencies. For us, we are different from them, that we have 3 constituencies. 2 constituencies are in 1 division. So contesting divisions in Jinja City. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm also ready to share my insights as far as the youth agenda.
Are the people of Jinja City, Jinja District part of the program, UBC Radio and also UBC Butebo? Interesting. Thank you so very much. Now I can call you honorable, I think, because of the positions that you've served and where you're heading. I think it will be right. Interesting. We also have a privilege and honor to have Odongo Arthur, is the CEO, Action for Development, joining us this evening, and he happens to represent the youth but also civil society organizations. Welcome, Arthur, again.
Well, thanks very much, Amon. I'm humbled to be on this program. Yes, as well detailed, I'm Odong Arthur, and a leader in a youth a think tank, that's Action for Development Initiative, and acronymed as FODI, an entrepreneur, and we are largely into the spaces of economics and policy, and it's a great privilege of being here and picking up such an inciting talking point. And I'm also humbled to have a honorable in our midst, and hopefully we shall delve deeper for the greater insights of society. Thank you.
Interesting. Most welcome, Arthur. And we also have a privilege and honor having Have Kanyankore is the director of TESIT, a foundation. Most welcome, Have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amon, and our dear listeners. And to the team that I have on board today. My name is Havi Kanyangole, and like introduced, I'm the director at TESIT Foundation, which is a non-government organization, and we basically deal with issues to do with migration law and policy and tax advocacy. It's a privilege to be here, and I must say the fact that I'm seeing young faces That means we are taking the active mantle, we are taking the task to be in the right direction. And I also want to thank the people and the organizations where these people lead, that they are in the right hands, and we need to keep in the right procedure, we take the right steps for us to achieve what we want to achieve in future. It is now that we must do the right things. Now at Tesit Foundation, I must say we are into policy making, like I said, migration law and policy. Migration is a lot of bold issues. It's diverse. And taxation covers various things from personal to interpersonal. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Mr. Amon.
I will dive into that maybe later on, especially when we come to migration and where most of the youth have been and their families have been so much affected, and many have become victims of that. And then we talk about East African integration, but when you cross the border, you cease to be an African but a Ugandan. When a South Sudan is here or in Congo, you are not treated as an East African or an African first. When it comes to Europe, or Europeans first, or the Americans first, then the States come in later. What is the futures? We talk about 2040, and what do you expect as the youth? That what you've gone through may not happen to those who are becoming youth next, or coming in issues again. Well, shall go into that later on. But I want to start from I'm glad that you are representing different sectors in this program, and where most of the youth are engaged in some one of those programs. But before we go into the politics, the policies, the programs, I would love to get your maybe as perspectives on what made your week, especially when we have Chan. It is here, and so very many youth participating in this. When we talk about football, we are talking about something that is exciting, especially when it comes to the Generation Z or Gen Zs. What made your week? Yesterday, Uganda happened for the very first time to hammer one of the teams that were given after we had lost to Algeria 3-0, and now we scored 3-0. What do you expect in the games that we have going forward? South Africa, do you see Uganda taking another step and qualifying to the champions? And what else that made your week apart from Chan? I will start with you, Dong, then Ismail and Harvey.
All right. Thanks very much. I think let me pick it up from the landscape you've said about Chan. I'm privileged that some of the games started while I was in Nairobi, and I had to share some space with some teams of Morocco. And then coming to Uganda, of course, I saw the charisma and the entire space that was facilitated, being the fact that Nambole is just near our office space and operational area. I saw the entire excitement. But then, how does it, instill a sense of understanding in me? I see the sports sector as one of the largest avenue, if tapped in well, could employ the significant age group that we're actually focusing in today, because it requires a lot of energy, and it's a diverse sector if looked into details. But also, taking from the emotions that were gathered from the game of Algeria, where it was a 3-0 loss, and I was so much moved by the connection that Ugandans are trying to nurture with their entire sports space. But then, in the end of it all, is this weight that was put onto the players, and another understanding that sports does not now stand as a detached economic activity from the entire space of the citizens, and it's something that really connected us as citizens, and the 3-0 win really showed that Uganda were actually following. And to some point, I think this is a pickup that not only should we anchor on the hosting, but rather use it as an opportunity to advance and focus more in looking at sports as a central or significant economic emblem that could really cause a change of trigger in society. Thanks, Amon.
Interesting. Ismail?
I think I'll start from where Adong has stopped. What stood for me actually this week was actually in line of football. Is that if you try actually to compare our football team with other football teams, for example, the one which hammered us, Algeria, it is that the kind of injection of funding of our football team is really very low, basing on the standards which is required actually to be at the international level. But if you try football, which the Ugandan team plays compared to other teams which inject in a lot of money, then that means that actually we have a very good team. We have a promising young team which could make wonders in case actually we increase the funding as far as football is concerned. The unity which I saw in the football, you may not think that actually we have the political divisions and so on and so forth. When we are in, we are one.
The politics, the tribes, the...
So if you come out now to concentrate on these
I saw
activities.
Even the Indians and Bazungu celebrating.
Yes, they do. So it is really so good that actually such activities unite us. And I believe if Uganda could have injected more money in sports, football, athletics, and so on, we could actually try to cut off some kind of divisions we are having, because people tend to concentrate so much on politics because it is the only avenue where we can actually discuss. But actually, once we have football, we have athletics there, we have swimming and so on, you find that actually we shall be trying actually to tame down some of the tempers, divisions, and so on, as far as Ugandans are concerned. So they speak one language. They need to do common things. They need actually to love each other through such activities. So it stood for me a lot. And I want to encourage all Ugandans actually to concentrate so much on things which unite us than dividing us. Thank you.
Interesting. Have
The week was hot. You know, from a loss in the Chad and now to a win, but those temperatures are so high. So, like Honorable has just concluded, divided we fall, united we stand. It's not about who you are, you know, as an individual. It's about what we can as a group. When it comes to the field of football, I personally am not a fan of, Arsenal, Manchester, Chelsea, Liverpool. But when it comes to the Uganda Cranes, at least that one I pay an extra ticket. I have to pay an extra ticket. Why? Because I want to show the support, because they are part of me. Now, as a country, I must say we have given less attention to the field of football. And of course, you reap what you sow. The lower the input, the lower the results. Now, from that area, I will also go to a celebration that we had at Tesit Foundation this week. And as a nation that many people don't know, you remember the last time I was here, we were talking about the coexistence of health and in the national migration policy. And you remember I also talked about the issue that Uganda did not have a comprehensive migration policy. And we had stakeholder engagements with government, immigration, IOM, and other key stakeholders in this area. And now, this week, we have a national migration policy. Many people don't know that, but government has come out on through immigration and Ministry of Internal Affairs. We have actually contributed to the migration policy that is now existing, and as I'm proud as a young Ugandan, as a leader. I think that's what has really surpassed through the week. Thank you so much.
Interesting. It's a plus there, but we'll get back into the sports later on, looking at some of the programs that the youth engage themselves in, and how should government prioritize these programs to make sure that all of us are served equally. Odong, help us understand the SDGs and how they are impacting the world before we come down to the youth.
Okay, thanks very much, Amon. Yeah, of course, the SDGs were a refine of the Millennium Goals, and all these were, through the United Nations avenues. And I think to narrow it down and extract what could really be relevant for our discussion today, and following up on your question on how they are really impacting society and the likes. But I think also we should give a privilege to this discussion or this panel that is here to really dissect whether actually they're really making sense or not, because sometimes they could really look lucrative or beautiful on paper. The projections would look very good. Way back mid last year, worries were already being expressed whether actually the goals will actually be achieved or attained. Now, to extract a few that could be relevant that I feel pertinent about, SDG 4 about education, because looking at our segment and the population demographic that you try to bring out, and also the aspect of equality and the equal space and participation, and also extracting aspect of zero hunger could be a particular aspect we could look into. But then that for the purpose of the youth space, I think personally, I'll try to refrain from it. Now, going to education and whether actually they are making sense is I want us to have a honest kind of checking into these SDGs, whether actually we need to clue to them and use them as our North Star as a country, Uganda, or we try to think otherwise, because looking at the entire paradigm of these SDGs more. So let's look at the eradication of poverty that was part of the SDG agenda, and looking at our fragment of the youth. You'll come to understand that the employment is still worrying, and then also in the education space, you'll find that the systems that do try produce the academicians and the likes, I'm worried that we are heading to what I think I should call academic inflation, whereby we have very many people who seem to be educated, but hardly translating the value of their education into the market. Now, that makes this SDG questionable. Is it really education or it's just indoctrination? Because we need to think through whether these SDGs put all our countries into consideration, because this is a global landscape, a global land play, but we have different challenges and aspects that hinder each country, and geographic locations, capacity of different citizens, but they were passed by the UN that factors in many countries as a whole. The same SDGs that are working in Uganda are the same SDGs that are incorporated in other developed countries. Yet we are a developing country. So we have to really factor into the entire SDG space and see, does it really make sense? If not, we have to extract. There is a problem of trying to push all the 16 goals at once, yet in reality, they are unachievable for some of us. So my entire say is I would want us on this panel to maybe extract, pierce holes into those that don't make sense in our society, and rather uphold those that we think could be made better. Because at the end of it all, development is the key aspect we need, not just to carry the entire burden of responsibility just because we are subscribers into the United Nations and this was passed. It just comes to what you slightly said about a Sudanese coming into this country and still remains a Sudanese. Yet the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that is trying to be pushed. And of course, it's also under that incorporation of the SDGs, that is of ensuring trade is smooth and ambiguous. So as we are trying to delve into it, my entire, pushing is, should we just carry it as the entire weight on us, all the 16 goals, yet we have pertinent issues that could relate with pertinent goals that we could focus on, and maybe the rest could be a chess after. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you, Dong. Have I come to you before I come to Honorable Ismail? Ismail, I would engage you on Uganda, how we can effectively implement these SDGs and become a success. But Harvey, on before we come to Uganda, on the global scale, at the international level, we are global citizens at the first, and Odong says that these have remained good on paper. But before we come to Uganda, before we come to East Africa, before we come to Africa, where most of the countries are in the global south, or even looking at the global north, which countries we take to be most advanced and developed, have they really realized the SDGs? Or still they have also remained on the paper? And what can we learn from them that we can copy and paste from the global south to the global south?
Absolutely. You're right. The SDGs are dated back to 2015, post the Millennium Development Goals. Now, they are a strategy developed under the United Nations to help countries achieve a common goal of better environment and sustainability. The SDGs, the word itself, it's the Sustainable Development Goals. These are goals, and when you have goals, you have indicators that you use to achieve the goals. Then sustainability means that the actions you're taking now do not compromise the future. And development, of course, we all know, growth and development, an increase in actionable steps and achievements. Now, for that matter, I must say, Uganda being a party to the UN and all her treaties there too, there's a lot that we need to really achieve when it comes to the SDGs. I actually wrote a book about the SDGs. It's called Uganda and Sustainable Development Goals, a handbook for the youth. It's available online. It was printed by Lambert Academic Publishers, which is a company in Germany. And before I introduced that book to the Germans, I took a plea to the office of the Prime Minister. Then, there was Honorable Krut as serving as the SDGs coordinator. And then we had Rosa Malango as the UN resident coordinator. Now, why I must say Uganda is not doing the right steps towards achieving the SDGs is because even the young people who have tried to showcase the right arms in this specific policy, advocacy, implementation, and all that, Uganda has not been supportive. Surprisingly, the book that was written by a Ugandan youth was not supported by the Ugandan government. It stopped at writing letters, getting into offices, meeting, this one sends you to the other one sends you to this one. And I didn't like it. I'm straight on the point. I didn't like it. I have a professor colleague of mine who is Ugandan but living in Germany. I contacted him and we had a brief engagement on that. So if Uganda does not support her own youth, and other countries are ready to support us.
Our
What do
own
you
projects
expect?
and initiatives.
That's number one. Number two, the government of Germany, through an organization, they have purchased over 1,000 copies for their own people to read. And surprisingly, through Amazon, through Kindle Books, I have only gotten emails of 3 Ugandans who have bought that book. By then I was at campus, at Kampala International University. I opted to give out copies, over 20 copies that I gave out
For free.
And about 7 were paid, I think 50,000 each copy. Now, that tells you that we must first get to know what we are dealing with, the idea in mind. You know, the 7 habits of highly effective people begin with an end in mind. As a country, we have not had that. We are not really putting it into practice. And in the book, I will share a copy with you guys. I said this, that first, as opposed to traditional workshops that are by invitation, the online consultations elicited by the participation of many more people and a greater delivery of stakeholders in Uganda. In Uganda, we are good at workshops, seminars, conventions, we are good at that. But what we are not really looking into is implementation. We are so bad at that. And as a country, we need to really, I think the problem is not just our leaders, it's our structures. Because the Minister of Youth, who should also be taking part in this, may not have what to say because the current priorities do not match this. That's one. Number two, I also said in the book that the consultative process which we have had undertaken at a low cost compared with traditional approaches, easing resources to address other budget constrained national processes. Now, we have, you remember the OPM about 4 years back? That's when the SDG fund was set up. And they were crying of resources every day because they did not have an office. First of all, they were still under the ministerial office in the office of the Prime Minister. I remember we used to have meetings with the late Angus, you remember? We used to have meetings there, but then in a boardroom that was meant for ministers, Now, that shows you the kind of constrained resource allocation that we have. So our budget priorities are not matched to what we say we want to achieve as a country. We are in 2025. The SDGs are aligned to 2030. And we have of 2040. Now, how shall we really get there when we have not even looked at what we are doing, rethinking what we are doing at this moment? And still on that point, my current book is titled Realigning the SDGs, a Focus on Africa. Because when we talk about Uganda, we are only looking at, people are talking about President Museveni and, the government officials we have. But then, we cannot achieve the SDGs also without thinking of partnerships. And like your question was, are these countries that we look at as developed achieving the SDGs? I must say yes. I'll give you an example, like a country called Lativa. It's one of the best performing countries in the world when it comes to achieving the SDGs. It's a very tiny country, Look at Rwanda. Recently, at Tessit Foundation, we wrote a policy note, democracy versus, economic development. Which one is worth? Which one comes first? And the question was, can we achieve democracy without focusing on economic development? If we decide to go authoritarian, for example, Do you think we can easily achieve the economic perspective? Or we should look at democracy first, then the other ones will come later? That's a question to the Honorable, who is from the DP. Now, back to your side, I must give you another example. Look at South Korea. Look at China. Look at the US. Look at Britain. These countries are performing well because their indicators are actually showing their performance is good. But what have we done? Recently, we had a discussion of the Ugandan air quality. Let me give you just that as an example. The Kampala air quality. We have one of the poorest. Dust everywhere, and it affects our health. But the question is, has the government shared such kind of information with our citizens through the Government Citizen Interaction Center? It hasn't. Now, we cannot achieve the SDGs without interaction. It needs people-government interaction. And as we go ahead with the conversation, I know they are listening. Let them come back to the drawing board. Let us not look at the fact that mere policies will take us through. It needs to do groundwork. We must sit down. And that is why, by the way, the refugee sector is doing well. Why? Because we have a number of partners there that are on ground. Whereas there are issues, but the progress is smooth.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Before I leave you, from the time these SDGs were introduced up to this time, 2025, and looking ahead, we're only counting 5 years or even less. Any achievements that we can celebrate as a country?
Yeah, they're there. The achievements. One, let's go to affirmative action.
Because from the time we start lamenting, one may think that we have not had anything good that we can celebrate as a country.
No. And by the way, the people who think government of Uganda has not performed, let's give credit where it's due.
True that.
Because the moment we keep saying this, complaining that, it won't help us. But then we need to acknowledge where something has been done. Now, when it comes to affirmative action, gender equality, there is good performance in gender equality. There is improving performance in infrastructure, especially electricity, from electricity to roads. I know people will complain, potholes, this. Those are things that we must. The fact that we are realizing we need better roads, it means we are now taking the right steps to development. It means we are looking at places which have good roads, and we now want to put them into action. Means that's a symbol of accountability. And we can't achieve the SDGs without accountability. And accountability comes from the people. If I drive my car, I hit a pothole, I'll complain. But as I complain, I must also be able to pay the right taxes. You can't feed a cow that you don't. You don't milk a cow that you don't feed.
That's a good one.
And when it comes to Uganda's achievements, there are many. The only challenge we have is
the problem. Those who complain are those that were not making their taxes.
Absolutely,
not paying taxes.
Absolutely. And by the way, look at the previous financial year report. Most of the tax contribution came from foreigners. That's surprising. In a population of 40 plus million people, we have about 4 million taxpayers. That's disappointing.
But it's also controversial. The people would say, according to Kampala CBD, they're the most taxpayers, but comparing to Central or Kampala, to be specific, and other areas, you'd find that the infrastructure in Kampala is more worrying than in any of the places. I've been to many places in the country. The people of Palisa have good roads, the oil roads in Hoima, and many other in the up country.
You're right. But the question is, do you think it is as smooth as we think to develop a CBD just like a village? Absolutely not. Let's look at the roads that are in Kampala. I'll use an example of Jinja Road. I've stayed in Bweogere before for a long time. I've used that route, for about 6-7 years every day, morning, evening, on a board and in a cab. I must say it has been one of the hardest roads to refurbish, like I've seen. Those people were working day and night, but it was challenging because lorries are moving every day. Trailers, these small sedans, they're moving all the time. And whereas we are doing that, we are not looking at the people who are working. I think for us to first complain, let's now call for a 24-hour economy. That's the one thing we must look at. We need to be able to work day and night as people, as Ugandans. And as we put that into practice, we must know there is a consequence. And what is the consequence? The money that will be able to run those institutions 24/7 is the consequence number one. And we cannot have that money without a contribution. We should actually stop calling foreigners to come and help us. We have enough here. And I must repeat it, Honorable and Mr. Odong, we have enough. And you must agree with me to that. Secondly, for the Ugandan to realize that Uganda has actually achieved something when it comes to the SDGs. When it comes to areas, like I said, infrastructure, we are doing well.
Okay.
Because from roads to schools, whereas the quality is still poor, but there is a performance.
We're getting there.
Yes, we are really getting there.
Interesting. Thank you so much. I come to you, Honorable Kiria, before I go into a break. And our dear listener, to be part of the program, you can always share your perspectives on 0776 511 426. We value your perspectives. You can always participate anytime in this program, especially in our second part. But coming to you, we have heard from Harvey, and I'm glad that he has written that book, informing and educating the global citizens. But looking at some of the examples, some that we have given in this program, Harvey gave us Latvia. There are also small countries like Estonia, Lithuania, and so very many. Very small, and you can never hear anything about them. But they are getting there. They're developing every day compared to the land area, compared to the population, compared to even there are some countries in Africa that have got the GDP more than Estonia, and this is Latvia. But what happens to African countries which have failed to implement the SDGs? Yet most of them, they are targeting to improving the lives and developing the citizens, especially in the countries of the global south. Where is the missing link? Is it the population not picking up the gospel that the government and the civil society they are preaching? Are we missing the political will? Are we still poor that we cannot implement some of these programs? Odong talked about zero hunger, free education, but at least there are some free colors of hope that we have implemented some of these SDGs. But where do we fail, especially most of the African countries that haven't reached where we expected them? And now we're talking about 5 years to end the SDGs program or 2030 vision.
Thank you so much. I want to thank my comrades Avi and Odong for the good insight through the SDGs. I want first of all bring it to the attention to the listeners that the fact is, ever since we started the SDGs and the implementation of the MDGs before, we have at least achieved something. As far as the 17 SDGs are concerned, I think sustainable development goal has actually reached somewhere. You can't actually compare Uganda, I think 40 years back, as we are right now, when we have at least implemented some MDGs and SDGs. Challenge as the African countries. One is about the political will. There is a bias around the whole continent of Africa that whenever a program or a policy coming from the Western side, then that policy is interested in just infiltrating us and also bringing us bad ideas and so on and so on. That is one. So you find that actually the political will of implementing the SDGs in most of the African countries, it is very low. But most of the African countries, leaders, they are interested in tapping what are these strings attached which come with these SDGs. So they say, let us accept, and we get some of these strings attached. The other challenge is about the implementation level. The fact is, we all learned about the SDGs when we have crossed our higher education. But when you go O-level, primary level, you find that actually people are reluctant to know about the SDGs. Now, when you go now back to our local levels, you find that we have less discussion about the SDGs. Why? It is because they are not unpacked for our local community. You find that our community that have any information or knowledge of understanding how to implement the SDGs at their local level or local area. So there is need to unpack the SDGs so that even someone who doesn't know or who didn't go to school can understand what he can contribute to the implementation of the SDGs. Otherwise, if we leave it in English and we leave it to the people who have gone to school only, we leave it to those who have now sneaked into local governments, like now the councillors, then the local people, for example, the chairman of a local market in Pade, should also understand his contribution to the implementation of the SDGs. The chairman of Butebo stage, what is your contribution? But do they really know what SDGs can understand in their local language? That's a very big challenge which we have as African countries. Then the other thing is that I want actually to give credit to this government that it has fought so much to make sure that every goal is achieved. I want to tell you that actually we politicians always actually come on air, we criticize education, we criticize health and so on. But if you try to compare the education level of Uganda with that of 1990 or 1980, it is totally different. Right now, even actually those who think that actually they are not learned, they are either P7 dropouts or senior 3 dropouts, which means that actually they can also somehow read, they can somehow write some sentences and so on. Now, in that regard, there is need to put more emphasis on every goal basing on the relevant ministry or department. Let us try to divide these goals basing on the departments we have. If it is a goal about gender equality, let us actually see how the Ministry of Gender is going to implement this.
Then we set ourselves targets. If we are here at UBC and we are saying that actually our strategic plan for these 5 years is to reach out to 23 million listeners in Uganda. The first year, let us understand how many listeners have we reached to. As far as the 23 millions we are targeting in 25 years, how many have we reached to in 1 year? We record that. Then the second year we also record this. Last year we reached around 5 million. This year we have reached 7 million. Then we see, so that everybody can understand how we are now moving, we are progressing. But you find that actually we are talking about the health, but we are not following the trend at which we are advancing as far as health is concerned in relations to the sustainable development goals. So that's so much important that we really understand how we are now progressing. That will even actually give more energy to most of the people who are now into this field to work harder. Otherwise, if we work on a blank page, if we work on things we are not following, then it is going to create us, it's actually going to make us lag behind and also be reluctant in some of the areas where we think that actually they are going to help us in that line. But what is more important is that let us actually move the SDGs locally. Let us implement these SDGs to our local community. The informal sector needs actually the SDGs more than us, because the informal sector understands or works more than for us actually who are speaking the English and so on. But let people really explain the SDGs in Alur, so that the local man can really understand the point of SDG of health or gender equality or anything related to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you so much.
Interesting. Thank you, Honorable Iriga. And this is UBC Ground Zero. We are live on 5 radio stations covering this program, border to border, city to city, and town to town, even village to village. Ampaire Amon Buteega is my name, and I do have a privilege and honor to have a big team in the studios of UBC who are inspiring the people of Uganda on UBC Ground Zero. Kiria Ismail is coming from Democratic Party, specific Uganda Young Diplomats, is the President Emeritus. Dong Arthur is the CEO, Action for Development of ODI, and also Harvey Kanyankori is the Director of Tesit Foundation. I'm taking a very short break, and when I return, I'll be picking your calls on 0776 511 426. 0776 511 426. What do you think is missing? What do you think needs to be done by all the stakeholders, government, civil society, the people of Uganda, and anyone that is involved, to make sure that we promote the SDGs before it is late? This is UBC Ground Zero.
Yes, Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza muganda kito kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza. They can advise, guide, and people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC Radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health entertainment, updates in education, on the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio. Inspiring you. Every Saturday, UBC Radio broadcasts the Information Hub, your one-stop dial radio show. Join us to learn and know more information about innovations, research, and developments. The Information Hub, knowledge is power, on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero on 5 radio stations covering the program. And UBC Radio on 98.0 FM, that is in Kampala, 97.4 FM in Arua, 99.4 FM in Lida. Butebo Radio, we are on 96.9 FM in Bale, 98.4 FM in Soroti. UBC West Nile on 98.0 FM, Magic 100 FM, Voice of Butebo. It is time now to share your perspective on 0776 511 426. Talk to us.
Hello.
You're live on radio?
Yes, this is Henry Baguma.
You're most welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for that beautiful discussion.
Thank you, sir.
And also engaging our younger people in this subject. I'm glad to hear my colleague from the Young Democrats. Now, I am asking my question or my challenge is, I've not had recently the whole program right from the start, but I've been hearing on and off. However, the few ideas I get, the issue of increasing number of younger people in the country does not seem to be addressed fairly well. There are so many youth unemployed, youth well educated, and so at the end of the day, they have no jobs, but they are professors, they are doctors, they are what they are on the street now. That's a very big challenge which we need to address. I'm also seeing increasing rate of violence in the country, and most of the violence is attributed to the younger people, the youth, demonstrations, riots, and I want to hear from our Young Democratic man officer and the honorable there to explain to us how can we as a country prevent violence, particularly among the youth. And now they have joined the politics, they have joined the sports, they have joined everywhere, but most of the agenda is rising up to challenge whatever is ongoing. You saw the things in Kawempe, you saw the things in Zimbabwe, you have seen NRM primaries, you have seen. So it's a big, big challenge. And for us, like me in particular as a Ugandan, I'm very much concerned and worried of the future of Uganda in terms of the younger people joining the politics from a wrong angle. That is my question and my fear. I want to hear from those officers because they're experts in youth affairs. Thank you very much, Henry Baguma.
Thank you so very much, sir. Okay. I see them not, Nick. I do believe that they are going to address that concern pretty well. 776-511-426. And also your messages on 0701 24 26 47. 0701 24 26 47. Program UBC Ground Zero, and our topic is we are looking at how we can localize or we can make local youth actions for SDGs and beyond. That is on UBC Radio, UBC Butebo, UBC West Nile, and also Magic 100 FM. You're live on radio? UBC? You're live on radio?
Amon, you're also live on the Buteega, the best roundabout. Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
It has been a long time. Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you so very much. I've been also missing you.
Yeah, this is Juma calling.
Most welcome.
I mean, for the case of youth, if you see youth becoming violent, these youth, I think, they have some leaders who are matured. They are being headed by adults behind them. How best can we make youth active and productive? As there is one of the program, Young and Smart. I used to tell Bob Mugisha, young and smart and productive. Sports, betting. Betting also is spoiling some youth. Some youth who are supposed to be at school, parents trusted them with that little money for school fees, they will go and bet it. And it could be a sign of demonstrating something which is not all that going well with them. So in the environment where you find that leaders are not united, then it will be hard for youth as well to be productive. Because all this I blame back either from the parents to the leaders, government officers. You're a civil servant, please, do your mandate. Never bother much about if I do this, the other side human right will capture me. No. Serve your nation. And when you have that love and zeal in you, leader is not maybe by coincidence. You are brave enough, you have wisdom, you can guide, you can control. If it is beyond you, you can reverse it back to these cultural leaders. For me, what I pray for Ugandan youth, from the elder, the adults, we need good governance and good leaders and law-abiding citizens. There is no job, there is no job. Jobs are there, but the provisions are limited. The qualifications are there. But there are some people who had already occupied those positions with the forged documents, leaving these ones who are well educated, well purified, hanging on air, which is very bad. So, as I submit for the final moment,
okay,
we need transparency, accountability, and the rule of law to be respected.
Okay.
For God and my country.
Thank you so very much, Juma, and the people of Buteega there that you represent today on today's edition. 776-511-426 is the number you can call and share your perspective. What needs to be done to make sure that we promote youth, especially looking at the youth actions for SDGs and beyond. Some people sharing their messages here. I am Emma. I want to thank you for the program, and I want to thank the man from DP, at least for the very first time opposition are crediting government for what they have been able to achieve. Condos, we indeed give credit where it is due. Thank you, Emma, for listening in. Thank you so very much, Amon, for the program. Many young people feel that the government programs don't reach them at the community level. How is the ministry bridging the gap in this? I am Simon, listening in from Entebbe. Okay, I wish we had expected to have Chalimpa Joshua, who is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Gender and Labour Social Development. I don't know whether he's still making it or has failed to make it the program. You're live on UBC.
Good morning.
A very good morning to you, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Akabuleta Stephen from Nakawa.
Yes, sir.
I'm listening to your programs.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm happy that the youth have come out to air their views. And it is pleasing to know that they are also concerned as we elders are concerned. Now, that disease has not only affected the youth, but it has penetrated even in the elders, even in the old people who should have been leading the youth to do the correct thing. They're actually misleading them to do what they shouldn't do. Say, for instance, if you want to vote and you gather the youth and put them in one place and they use sticks, use all possible means to make violence, the youth are learning that it is not the choice of the people, but the choice of violence. Now, if this violence escalates and you choose somebody, and the people who are choosing, doing the violence are not part of the voting college, it becomes such a very big problem for you to choose a correct person to lead this country. While we support the youth, and I'm 100% in support of the youth taking over the mantle, this mantle we are taking on might be a misled mantle, so that when they choose leadership, it is the leadership of what they think is their choice. Now, while they're using them, they are actually misusing them, because one person has diverted them with an input that is so temporary, without thinking, without looking at their age, and they end up in trouble. I have an example of the youth who has come out of the youth
livelihood,
but lose livelihood. But she insisted that she must be voted because of the influence she had with the overage. She went ahead and she used the youth that she knew because they loved her and voted her to office. She had even to run to Nile to go and adjust her age limit, her age of being a youth. And they changed her. She paid the 200,000 shillings to change her age. Now the youth have gone up in arms to say we know her, and she had an ID which was giving her correct age at the time she was elected. But now, because of wanting to become a leader, she has gone ahead and adjusted her age. Now, nobody is listening to them. And if somebody wants to listen to them, that would have been the first example of supporting the youth to do the correct thing. Now, when they are saying the correct thing should be done, nobody is listening to them. I am NRM and I support my party, and they know it should go a correct direction. But when it does divert from the principles and look at what they want, not what we want is what that works, but what we need is what should be followed. And in fact, I'm hearing the youth talking about themselves, and they are saying what is paining them, because the leadership has left them in disarray, and they must find a way to survive because of poor employment. You know, you can't employ all of them because majority of them don't have skills. You can't say I want a job when you have no skill in you, and somebody will give you a job and it will get into training you to do that job. Now, it is very, very important that we know that the youth need this, they need to be skilled, and we give them those skills and put them where they are supposed to be, and everybody will be happy in this country. NRM is very strong and has all the youth that we need, but they are diverted. They don't know.
Okay.
They don't know what to do
Thank
and
you,
how
sir.
to do it.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir. Stephen Kabaleta there sharing his perspectives
Yes.
on this program.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Jimmy Okelo, you are saying that the youth are doing their part. It is government that is delaying their progress, and the SDGs are really taking shape, only that we are lacking Kamane. Interesting there. Okay, interesting. How can collaboration between CSOs, private sector, and the youth leaders be strengthened for SDG acceleration? Because as I've talked about partnership, it is only way that we can go there. I wish you put your name. Thank you for the program. Have you seen any examples where smaller and community-driven initiatives scaled to national or even global influence? The PDM is taking shape, and if the youth of this country utilize these government projects and programs, they will get out of poverty, which is one of the significant SDG that I see developing the youth. Okay, that is Catherine. Someone says thank you for the program, but we talk about so many programs, but the youth are not yet ready to tap into these projects and programs. PDM is benefiting people at the grassroots, and there is a percentage of the youth, but how many youth have participated in this program? The Myoga program and so many others, you'd find that there are other groups of people, but the youth are diverted into small and petty things, which will keep them poor and not elevated. I am listening in from Mukono. I wish you also put your name. How is the party enabling young people to influence policies that address the SDGs? My question is, how is your party enabling people to influence policies that address SDG policies like poverty reduction and climate change? I think we need to address the climate change because it is one of the factors that is affecting all the other sectors. All right, so very many messages coming in, but we shall reading some and also sharing others. Keep them coming through. Shall be reading one by one, but also you can keep calling on 776-511-426. Allow me go back to the studios of UBC and my guest to address some of the concerns that have been raised by our listeners who are part of us from the other side of radio, and I will go in the order of Ismail, Harvey, and Odong to address these concerns. How ready are the youth? There are many programs on ground. Government is doing their part, but the youth are not available. They are not availing themselves to utilize and also be able to benefit from these programs. You seem not to be ready. You seem to be lamenting and complaining, even when there are many opportunities that are available for the youth. Some people say that the government is doing their part, but the youth are not doing their part. How true or false is that? And you seem to be a diverted group of Ugandans that can be manipulated to be used by different players and opportunists. How are you positioning yourselves to be seen and to be heard? Because the more you keep to be diverted and involved in different, or petty, as some listeners say, petty things, one may think that this is a serious group that may perhaps not be positioned to take into some of these programs or government projects, and so they happen to look at the other groups, and that's how they use sometimes miss out a point. Honorable Kiria, I will come to you, Harvey and Odong later.
Well, I want to first of all to take this opportunity to thank the callers because is one of the act which shows that actually there are some people behind the radio listening to us. And that is the act actually which makes us so much relevant in studio here. Once we realize that actually there is no one actually listening to us, then even us, we may not actually come here. So I want to thank those who have taken the initiative of listening to the UBC in whatever part of the country. Sabuma, first of all, says the increased number of violence in the young people. How do we prevent it? You know, we have a problem that it is not a problem, but it's a challenge, whereby the young people are the most. We are we have the biggest number in the country, and according
they say
to
you are the most used.
Yes, it can be true, it can be wrong, but according to
promote their intentions and realize their goals, the only group that is targeted is the youth.
Yes, that is true.
Not just in Uganda, but we have seen also in the region.
Yes, it is because actually we are many, and the biggest number is redundant. No work. They don't know what to do. They don't know what next. That's why actually when we come to the political season like this one, it is the young people who are mostly manipulated because of the situation. So in that regard, you find that actually there is no a clear plan for the young people. One can actually ask him or herself, why does the government keep on shifting goals of development in young people? We have the Youth Livelihood Program. After that, before even ending, there is another program. After that one, there is another one. What is wrong with the first program which we presented to the young people? Secondly, how far, if you try to analyze the programs we have brought for the young people, Youth Livelihood Program, according to the statistics, how many young people have you started with? How many young people do you have at hand? How far has the program helped the young people in terms of numbers? Then we say, where you come in Ginger, we helped these young people, and the program actually helped many young people like that. So that we can, so that one puts us in a vulnerable state, whereby we are now being used. Even actually, if we are now to try actually to track around those who kill people, you might find actually young people are more in the line. When you go to the prisons here around Kampala here, most of the people who are there, they are young people. Now, you can ask yourself, why do you think the number of young people in acts which are not good in that line? So there is need to plan for the young people very well, so that at least young people, we have education system. And according to the SDGs, at least a number of young people have been taken to school. But there is something lacking there. If you try to follow, for example, me, the young people I finished with P7, they are not the young people I finished with at the university. Actually, every level I've been having a number of my OBs dropping. When I went to the senior 4, many people dropped out. When I went to senior 6, others dropped out. When I went to university, others dropped out. Now, if you try to track the number of young people I've lost from my P7 to the university, it is bigger than those I finished with. So the question is, how do we help now these dropouts? Some dropped out from senior 2, some dropped out from P7, some dropped out from senior 5, and so on. But according to our education system, you find that actually people drop out without any skill. Even a simple skill of painting, we don't have it. Even a simple skill of using computer, we don't have it. So we should do at least realign our education system to the extent that actually even a people living P7 should have at least a little skill of painting, so that when things go bad when he's in senior 2, he can be able to get a job in painting. He can be employed at a site, then he can paint and do something which the community needs in that line. So the most important thing there is that we need actually to plan for the young people, so that we prevent them from being vulnerable, being used by people that, yes, I have my 5,000, so go and do this for me. And they can be able to do because they don't have to eat, they don't have what to eat, and they don't know whether they can even get that money which they are refusing or not. So in that line, in case of the young people in this line, Mr. Kableta talked about once we don't listen to the young people, it makes them to act otherwise. That was the direction. So in that line, let us try to utilize the young people positively. Let us not wait. Let actually most of the politicians do not wait for the young people in political season. Let us also utilize the young people, engage them in some profitable activities where they can be of help. Because now, if you try actually to go to for example, the agricultural sector, from the garden up to the supplier level, the young people are there. We have a challenge that in Uganda, most of the young people, for us when we were we were studying, we used to think that actually skills like tailoring, skills like agriculture, skills like building, those are skills for the people who didn't go to school. But it is high time now to start changing the mindset of the young people. Most of the young people, by the way, 90% of the young people have a piece of land where they can get, they can actually do agriculture, the commercial agriculture. But you find that actually most of the young people, they in urban areas. And the lands which they live in the villages, they are redundant. So at least if we try now to divide up ourselves, we get some time to give it to the agriculture, we get some time, we give it to some of the skills, then I think we shall be in position to be helping the society, helping ourselves, and helping Uganda at large. Lastly, let us concentrate so much on the talents. Uganda has a lot of talents, more so in football. Uganda has a lot of talents, more so in athletics. Uganda has a lot of talents in music. But where is the government initiative in helping these upcoming talents? I had just attended the conference in Rabat. It was in June. I was in Rabat. That is Morocco. That is the capital city of Morocco. And the concentration on football, for them actually the concentration is not so much on this developing the infrastructure, the roads and so on, because that one is done. Right now they are concentrating on how they can improve on sports. They took us through the stadium which they are building, which they are constructing, the biggest. I think it will be accommodating around the 150,000 supporters. Now, so they were telling us that actually they have an academy. At least they call them regions. Every region has a facility which can help the young people who know football, who have that skill to go and be mentored and also train on those facilities. But for us here, you find that we have only actually one national stadium, which is in Ambole. If you got the local district, every district, we don't have the facilities which can help the young people. We only appreciate the young people more so in athletics when they are. But
we have added Nachivubo, we have added the Akibua, yes. We have added this, is it in Hoima?
Which is being constructed. Yeah, but
we're not getting there.
Yes, but it is still lacking. When you try to go to Nachivubo, Akibua, then how about in Lira? How about in Busoga?
There are plans that we're going to have regional.
Yes, but it is now 40 years when the president is there. I'm trying now to yes. I'm now trying to help you that.
I've seen Honorable Mukula also letting to have one in Eastern Uganda. That there is a need to have a stadium in Eastern Uganda. He was saying that at least other regions do, apart from Eastern Uganda. Are we not getting there?
Yes. Yes, so it is lacking still.
I think
so
the West is also lacking
West
because
is also
Kacheka
lacking?
Stadium is not something that you can host a match there. You know, these are local. Absolutely.
Yeah. So my point is, as I'm concluding, let us try to plan for these young people at the regional level, so that we can try to tap. If we get many young people who are in music, and music is really appreciated, they may not be diverted to these violent acts. If we get so many young people in football, right now football, I think it is the most paying skill in the world. Is it football? Actually, it's one of the most paying
Yes, if
skill.
in a week people are getting millions and millions.
Yes, week. Football.
But also that is for the talented ones. In the country are talented.
If you try to go and stage, for example, in one of the regions, let me say Western Uganda, you say, I'm zoning Ankole, Kigezi, Toro, for the young people who are skilled in football, you'll get them and you'll be shocked where they have been. But it's because they struggle a lot to move from the grassroots to the national level where the country can see them from, because they are no
Kiria,
facilities.
are you
and
saying
so on.
that we have not identified sectors where youth are much involved, or we have not prioritized what those projects and programs that are so much significant to the youth?
Yes, prioritizing. It is, I think, the best ideal. We have not prioritized those key areas where young people.
Think that the sports is the only and one of the significant areas where the youth can be helped and developed?
No, it is not the only. I've given you the skills which we lack when we are now in schools.
What should be our priorities?
Our priority is now to plan for these young people, categorize them. We have those young people who are skilled in football, but they are not skilled in these other skills like now carpentry and so on. Even studies themselves, they don't want, but they are skills there. They are skilled there. We have those who are skilled. They have their skills in art and craft and so on, but they don't want to go to schools. But they can be in position to be accommodated in some other colleges where they can improve their art and design and so on. So the best thing is about prioritizing the key areas where the young people can be in position to be improved and polished as far as development is concerned.
I'll get back to you. Harvey, where is the missing link?
Thank you so much.
And among the way forward you've heard from the listeners.
Now, first of all, I'll put up some simple reactions on what a few callers have given us, their response. I want to first thank the people I'm with here, Mr. Odonga, and then our own here. We are raising issues of national importance, like how the president says these are matters of national importance. Both the two callers who raised issues to do with crime and violence, including Mr. Stephen Kabuleta's issue about youth in violence. And the best word to describe this is insanity. We have had a state of insanity in our country. It has overtaken many of our youth and even the mature adults. So I think we need sanity now. We need sanity in our people. We need to teach sanity. We need to preach sanity. Let's come back to our senses. What is right and what is wrong? Discernment. Before we take action, let's think, what is it that we are doing that is wrong? And how can we go back to the line of doing what is right? That's number one. Number two, in trying to address the issue of crime and violence among the youth, and the fact that youth are being used in elections and all that, and reprioritizing youth in stakeholder engagement. First of all, let's go back to this day that we are talking about, 12th August, which is coming very few days from now, the youth, International Youth Day. One, the theme of this year will be local youth action for the SDGs and beyond. That's the theme of this year's International Youth Day. And I want to let's look at the objectives of this day. Why do we even celebrate it? Why is it necessary for the youth? Why is it important? It's important for these 4 reasons. One is to be able to set up a group of disciplined and dedicated youth who have the inclination and spirit to engage in the task of national building. That's number 1. Number 2 is to facilitate the realization of inclusive growth, both social and economic. Number 3 is to act as points of dissemination of information and basic knowledge in our communities. And number 4 is to act as a group of modulators and peer group educators. Now, all these are aligned to what we call development. And we cannot achieve development with chaos. That's number 1. Now, for us to get development, we need sanity. We need design. Let's put bad and good sideways. We can't keep doing bad. The Chinese have a saying that is translated in English to mean that a fool is one who does the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's, Now, we can't keep being fools as a nation. And back to the leaders. Be role models to the young generation. Be role models. Let your children admire you. Let your children not just keep saying daddy is paying school fees and we are doing great with tours. That's not enough. Let your children be able to emulate your leadership capacity. We are seeing on Twitter, on now X, children are not, many of them are not happy with their parents in leadership and government. Why? Because there's no sanity within our leadership in this country. The sanity levels have really gone astray. Now, from there, I want us to look at how can we really achieve the SDGs as with the inclusion of the youth. One, we must educate. I'm not talking about 20 years of school. Me, I did not learn the SDGs from any class. And for your own information, I started reading about the SDGs in 2014. I was in senior 3. That's when I started reading about the MDGs. Now, 2015, that's when the SDGs came out. Now, in 2019, when COVID hit, that is when I realized there was need, to do better. I was in Bushenyi then. No, actually, first COVID I was here, then the second COVID I was there. Now, 2019 showed me great need for youth participation because everyone was scared, parents were scared, young people were scared. Now, we did not have the hope. And by the way, whereas government tried to put up some efforts, I commend them, there was missing hope in everything that we were doing. We became hopeless. Now I feel it is the time I should have come up. And even from my parents, I must say, we have not had the right support that we deserve as youth. Now, it's the whole. Statistics have it from our education system, which is not so good, which is not doing well. 40% of the learners who begin primary drop out. 40%. Now, go to secondary. 34% of the learners who begin senior 1 drop out by senior 6. What does that tell you? That tells you that we have not done the right education that we need. Okay. When you're doing education, that means you are even taking the bold steps to keep someone in check. Why is this person not doing well? Is this person feeding well? Are they sleeping well? There's stress in our education system, I must tell you. Right away from primary, there is so much stress. You see these children who are in these school buses and vans at 5 a.m.
They are stressed.
They are stressed. There is so much stress. Now, their psychological support status is not doing well. So we must address that in the line of education.
Okay.
Secondly, is implementation. We must implement properly. Auditor General's, IGG's report said that 19 trillion of this country's budget goes to corruption. Do you know how many schools how many proper schools with skills can be put up by 1 trillion? Those are 1,000 billions. You know? How many farms, agricultural farms, can be set up by 1 billion? There is a Kenyan influencer I follow on TikTok. I like him because he's trying to show them what corruption is doing. In Kenya, for example, he's saying that if you hear someone saying that he has had 1 billion Kenyan shillings on their account, just to know that person has stolen that money. Why? Because, and this is reality, if government needs 1 billion, 1 Kenyan shillings to pay off 2,900 teachers a full year, 1 billion Kenyan shillings, then where is that person getting that money? Which business is actually bringing in 1 billion shillings?
Are you not saying that there are no businesses that can
very good
that?
Let's go to that. Now, to start up that business, you need money. You don't need 100 million shillings will not give you 1 billion shillings in just 1 year.
It's according to where you invest.
You know motivation.
Partnerships.
You know motivational speakers.
Okay, you can conclude
in business. I do furniture. It's another business. That's the fact. But there is no way you wake up and your son has 1 billion shillings. Who is giving that money? Where is the source? So, accountability. We cannot achieve the SDGs without accountability. Okay. And that's how I will conclude. Okay. Thank you so much.
Allow me bring in Dong.
All right. Thanks very much, Amon, and thanks very much the listeners and those that raised their concerns. Yeah. I'm just going to pick it up from, I had a lot of sharing in of, government has tried its best and the likes. But then again, I would want us to be a little bit objective and have indicators or have some facts to back up some of the things. Let's come from precedence. In 2001, Uganda actually appended its signature on the Abuja Declaration before we come on the SDGs, And the Abuja Declaration had it that all national budgets of those countries had to allocate a minimum of 15% of their national budget to the health sector. We are yet coming to the SDGs that is prioritizing health. But now this is the Abuja Declaration that started in 2001. But all then, Uganda has averagely been allocating approximately 6.5 to, it's just of late that they yet allocated approximately 8.1% of the national budget. That shows you that the compliance to the Abuja Declaration yet failed. And now here comes, we get on board on the SDGs that we are talking of health. Yet we are failing to comply of what we locally appended to, of affiliating a percentage of our budget to that. Now that shows you that to fulfill a certain agenda does not guarantee your success in another bigger one, And then let me bring it on to, let's come to the Uganda ranking in ease of doing business. Uganda is 116 out of 190 countries. Why am I bringing this? Because for us to eradicate poverty, it has to be through trade. And trade is exchange of goods and services. That is value for value. When people are appreciating in value, that is how they are eradicating poverty, improving standards of living. Now, if Uganda, in that play alone, we hardly grow in our ease of doing business. That's ease of registration, ease of scaling, all that environment that facilitates performance of business. As we are looking at the roads and the likes, there are these operating systems that are necessary. You create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, so that the citizens privately, thrive in society. And then not only that, I made it clear that it was the worry was expressed by the UN itself that actually the SDGs have hardly been achieved 17%. We are heading to 2030, but we have hardly hit above 17% of the targets. But now this brings us to Uganda. We are talking of Uganda trying its attempts, but let's have digits to it. Uganda, according to the SDG index, Uganda ranks 142 out of the 167 countries that appended their hands on it. That means we have 25 countries. So that gives you an indicator, how are we performing? And now let me come now to the prioritization. Many have been talking about PDM, youth livelihood and the likes. In the short break, we had some short informal talk here with the panels in here. We are like, okay, these agendas are brought, but are they brought by enlightening citizens that in this program of PDM, we are holding part of the SDGs, or we are tackling part of the Agenda 2063, or we are tackling part of the National Development Plan, or bringing it as an NRM manifesto or NRM gift to the citizens. The messaging that some of these programs are brought to the citizens, I think also create the repulsion. Because if you're bringing it as a presidential handout to the citizens and people do not know that, by me participating on this program, it's contributing to the bigger agenda of the SDGs, or this is a handout of the president. As a matter of fact, SDGs, some that I have seen personally, actually the larger, is money that has gone to waste. I can attest to this because I've seen village people without any business or any enterprise. Let's get economic a little bit here with some of the government programs. When you carry money, and give it to a poor person who has no system to grow that money, the truth is the person is going to take the money to the needs that are facing them. And then if you carry that money, give it to someone who already has a business, a system, that money will stimulate and grow them. Now, when you bring a program and the motivation behind it does not really have the economic sense of growing people economically, it ends up being politically motivated. The PDM could have been a very good agenda if it was to eradicate poverty, but if you bring it as a handout, let's say it's an NRM handout to the citizen, this is a SDG agenda, we are eradicating poverty, and you educate people on that angle, not this is a presidential kind of initiative, or this is NRM manifesto to lift people out of poverty. I think it would create a better reception and it would create more watchdogs. It's so, as a matter of fact, with all due respect, I find it really hard and disturbing that the president himself goes to do monitoring and evaluation of worth 1 million shilling being given to a Ugandan. Yet there are systems that are below that to do that. There are civil societies that, if this was clear that this is to contribute to the SDGs, even civil societies that are advocating SDGs could actually follow up on monitoring this money of PDM. And then another thing also is about prioritization. One of the panelists was talking about agriculture. Let's look at agriculture. Agriculture is a sector that is employing over 70% of the citizens in the country. But let's look at the budget allocation to the agricultural sector. Of late, Uganda allocated, it was approximately 8.1 trillion. That is averaging less than 3% of the national budget. You are allocating less than 3% of the budget to a sector that is employing over 70%. And you are talking of employment? We really need to have economic sense in some of the discussions that we try to bring. When the government is coming and creating more districts, is that economically sound? Because when you create a new district with a narrative that you're increasing jobs, whom are you putting in districts? LC5. LC5 is not an economic office. They consume from the taxpayers.
But also when they don't, then people say that we have not extended services near to the people.
Okay, thanks very much. Now let me just bring in two examples that we cited here, Singapore, China, and the likes. If we are to take models of how China lifted a great number of people out of poverty, it wasn't out of opening new district or administrative units. It was by industrializing the other units. You go Gago or go to Pade, where there is shea trees, create there a shea operating or a shea processing plant, other than creating let's say LC5. When you put an LC5 in Agago, is he going to contribute economically in Agago than the factory? Because the factory is going to employ them in that area. You know, some of these approaches, if you are intentionally taking approaches to develop people, look at what lifts people out of society. Industrialization employs people, and it lifts people out of poverty. And I think I would actually lay it at that. Thanks very much.
The conversation is really good and informative, but time is not on our side. I would request you gentlemen to share your closing remarks and also way forward. But before we go into that, I think Kanyakwere, you have a question here addressed to you from a Congolese refugee living in Uganda. This is Mr. Kaseke, and he's saying, what can a young refugee do to also play and benefit from the SDGs? I think he had written PDS. Okay, let me read as is. What can a young refugee do to also play and benefit from PDS like others? I think that is SDGs, not PDS. This is Mr. Kaseke, a Congolese refugee living in Uganda. In your parting shots, you'll request to address to that. As our topic is today, local youth actions for SDGs and beyond. We're talking about less than 10 years or even less. What do we need to do to make sure that the people of Uganda, East African Africans do benefit from these SDGs and also the programs that are promoting, because they are all targeting all people. But when it comes to the youth, as we celebrate the 2025 International Youth Day, what should be take home? Will go Odong, Harvey, and Honorable Kiria will sum it up.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think my only take home is instead of handouts, I think let's have a lot of creating an enabling environment. Taking a case study from countries that are trying to thrive, let's look at China. China takes a greater model of the free economic trade zones, whereby there are those enabling environments that boost productivity other than giving handouts. Handouts are more of pity, and yet we know very well pity takes you no further than keeping in a pit. So we really need enabling environments, not handouts, because handouts without systems to grow these handouts, I don't really think as citizens, private citizens, which are really scale higher and greater. Thank you.
Interesting. Local youth actions for SDGs and beyond. Have
Thank you. I'll first address Mr. Kaseke's question. How a refugee can participate in their developmental agenda 2030. Now, I must say, it's not about your status, your what. It's about your ability to influence in this, because it's about your leadership ability, because leadership is about influence, positive influence. So I'm aware Mr. Kaseke is living in Uganda. He's a refugee, Congolese refugee. He's a doctor, by the way, I think. Yeah, he's a medical doctor. Now, it's about the small steps that we take that always lead to the greater cause. And as a doctor, don't sit on your profession. There are many ways you can aid. You know, there are many refugees who have approached us and they're saying we can't access, medical health care, Now, as a doctor, begin from there. Give consultation to these people. Set up small groups in your community. These refugees, if you're living in a refugee community, talk to them at least once a week. How do they feel? Do they feel fine? Because we need good health, health and well-being. It's another SDG. And not just that. Give them the right information they need. There's so much misinformation, by the way, in Uganda, from health economic access to how you move from one place to another. And you'll also realize that there are many other ways that he can also be part. There's so much information available online from not just us but other partners. Okay. And as I'm also giving my personal conclusion, I will call upon to the OPM, which is the office of the Prime Minister in charge of implementing the Sustainable Development Goals in Uganda. Please, let this not be a political issue. Let this be a general issue that brings in everyone to action. Thank you so much.
Interesting. Thank you so very much indeed. Honorable Kiria, Summit All.
Again, the callers that actually you have given us a pace and you have given us a guide on what we are discussing here. My last point on this radio is that I think it is a duty of government to see that it can shape the discussion of development in the whole country. Uganda is a country which is in politics from after elections, during elections, until we go to the next elections. So, day in, day out. But I think government should also come in actually not to politicize some programs which it brings in line with implementing the SDGs. In most cases, some of the programs are politicized. They are brought in terms of politics, then you find that actually most of the young people are diverted in politics. That's why actually you get problems of saying that actually we are giving you 1 million, then you will refund. It is a problem because they think once you give them 1 million, no, that is policy. Now my package. It is a problem now to return. But it is a problem which is brought by politicizing these programs and so on. Thanks so much to the listeners. I remain Kiria Ismail, the UAID President Emeritus. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our discussion today. I want to take this special honor to thank you, gentlemen, for making time to come through and inspire the people of Uganda on this edition and on this forum of UBC radios. We were live on 5 radio stations covering this program, and the repeat of this program is always on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. on UBC Radio 98.0 FM and Voice of Butebo Monday same time. And I want to thank you, the dear listener who has been part of us from the time we started and now, and also those who participated in this program by sending in your messages and those that called in. Let us all remember that achieving SDGs is not just a duty for institutions, government blaming all institutions, but it is a shared responsibility. I want to believe that we've heard from our discussion for all of us. Everyone must pay and play their part. The small actions you take in your community, in your village, in your institution, in your home, in your everywhere you are, can ripple out and create a really global impact, regional impact, continental impact. And on behalf of UBC Ground Zero team, I want to extend our sincere gratitude to you, our dear panelists, for making time to come through indeed, and we can't take that for granted. We're expecting to have Chalimpa answering on behalf of government and government programs, but also enlightening us about the International Youth Day that is about to be celebrated on 12th August 2025, which happens to be next week, I think, but we're unlucky to have him, and for reasons that best known maybe to him, and we hope that maybe in the next week we are going to be having him come through and educate the people in Uganda about the same. And that brings us to the end of our discussion, but special call to you, the youth listening and watching to us right now. Your voice matters, your actions do count, and your leadership is needed now more than ever. Ampaire Amon of Buteega is my name. It was a privilege having Havika Nyankore, Director Tesit Foundation, and Kiria Ismail, Uganda Youth Democrats President Emeritus, coming from Democratic Party, and also Odong Arthur, CEO AFOD or Action for Development. And till next time, same time, same stations. That is next Saturday from 10 to 12, and the repeat of this is on Sunday, 3 to 5 p.m. For God and my country, Ampaire Amon of Buteega. Allow me to wish you the best and a win on Monday with Uganda Cranes and South Africa. Till next time, same stations.
Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda kitwa kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide. And people in time will judge the one who is their friend.